Okay, so here we're going to talk about the Redarc BCDC1240D. This is from Australia. If you guys want to run a battery system on your camper and you want to live off your batteries, then you got to look at what the Aussies do. They've got it down pat. And as a story to tell you, I had an Aussie friend come over. We both bought F-150s, bought campers, put them on the back of the truck, and he installed this BCDC1240D onto his vehicle, and then I just plugged in and used the Canadian way, which was just this 7-pin. Plug it in, give us all our lights, and in here there is one red 12-volt auxiliary wire which charges the battery in the camper. The problem is this wire isn't strong enough to keep the batteries charged. We left for our trip, went up to the Yukon, Northwest Territories, where we spent most of it out in the bush there, and we needed our batteries. Charged the batteries up through shore power at the campground, then headed out. Within 2 days of running, I couldn't keep my batteries charged. I had two AGM 85 amp hour batteries, and his were constantly charged. This is capable of solar power, and it comes with the MPPT solar regulator. However, on our trip we didn't use solar, or he didn't use solar. I've installed it and I now have solar on it. So the big difference is this here little wire is what's on our Canadian 7-pin right here. And then this is the one you use when you go and use Redarcs. So the best way of saying this is that if this was a garden hose and had the same amount of pressure, and this was in one bucket and this was in the other bucket, this was going to fill up a lot faster because of the size of the wire. Same thing with the batteries. He was charging the batteries a lot faster. And the BCDC part here also lets you get this set up that he can be putting in 14.6 volts. Now my batteries, manufacturer said I have a 14.8 maximum voltage, so when I set mine up, I set it up for 14.6. It's actually quite easy. The manual, flip through it, tells you that 14.6 is setting up, I'm in the cabin, is A, and then I just follow the instructions to get an A, and I take the orange wire from the harness here, and in this case to get an A I actually don't connect it, so I leave that one unconnected. In there also there is a blue wire, and this is where we've run into trouble. There's now smart alternators, and the F-150 has a smart alternator. And so in order to have that smart alternator work, you actually got to take the blue wire and connect it to ignition power. So what I did, instead of running a fresh wire from the camper to the truck, if you go back to this, what I did is I no longer need this to charge my battery because the Redarc's going to do it. So I took the red wire from here, when it plugged it into my camper, followed it, and where it joined to the battery and the converter, I cut it. And I used that wire to join to the blue, which then gave me, when I turned the ignition on, I had power. Now this means this is no longer charging the batteries, but I don't care because that's what this is going to do. So what I did, if you take a look at the diagram, which is quite easy explained, is I took the orange wire, left it open, took the blue wire, alright, and I connected to the ignition red from my 7-pin plug. I took a yellow wire and plugged it into the solar panel, took the ground from the solar panel, just put it to ground, and then took the ground from here, the black wire, put it to ground, took the brown wire and hooked it to my batteries, my dual battery system in the camper. Then I took the red, and I had to run a red wire and a black wire this size from my truck to the camper. So what I did, if you come over here, is on my truck I ran these to my battery, to an Anderson plug, and then this one goes to my camper. So all I got to do is take these two wires, plug them in. Now I have the 12 volt. It won't backfeed and drain my truck. Alright, so now what I've got is we'll go inside here, and you can see I'm hooked up to A, should be flashing there, and 12.5 is what my batteries are right now. I'm going to take and plug my solar panel wire in. So now I have my solar wires plugged in, and it's telling me my solar is plugged in, and then my LED is solid red. This is the LED indicator, and that is in the manual, which we'll grab over here and see what the manual says. Solid, that means it's boost. I have a constant current going in from the solar panels, and as you can see my batteries were down to 12.5, so I'm putting in 12.8. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and start the truck up, and since I'm at wired mine to the A, I should really see roughly up a maximum of 14.6 volts coming in. So let me go and hook up the truck, or start the truck up, and let's see what happens here. Okay, so the truck is now running, and the truck light has just kicked in here, and our voltage is climbing. 14.1, 2, and the maximum it's good output is 14.6, so my batteries can handle 14.8. So it looks like it's stopping at 14.4. So it's very easy to hook up. That's my dual batteries. That's my inverter. It's a 3,000 watt inverter. The only reason I have this on is that when I take my batteries out to charge them, and they're sitting on the bench, I can know what's in my batteries. And my batteries just plug in pretty easy. I have an Anderson plug, just plugs them in, and I run all my positive and negative to a bus bar inside. So guys, big difference here. If you want to run batteries, the Canadian 7-pin will not do it. You have to go to something like the Redarc BCDC1240D, and this is a 12 volt 40 amp. D is because dual, because it's both vehicle and it's solar, and it's, what's it doing? It's flashing now. So when it flashes, that means it's gone to absorption, and that's all explained on page 5, or you can go to Redarc's and it tells you what it's actually doing when it goes through those different modes. But like I said, the Aussies know how to do it, and you can run a lot off your batteries if you can keep them charged, and this system's worked very, very well for us. Talk to you later.